in our castle and city building series. Kinder Knight here, and in today's episode we will be touring some of the interiors of Grwenhilde Castle. So I'm super excited about that, and I hope you guys watching are too. I put a lot of effort and thought into what I'm going to show you guys today. So to show your appreciation, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. You would be doing me a solid, and again, it's just a way for you to show your appreciation, as I do in fact appreciate every one of you. But I'm not going to waste any more time here, and we're going to go ahead and jump right on into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the tour. Okay guys, so we're going to go ahead and start the tour from here. And just to let you guys know that not all the interiors for the castle are done yet. In fact, maybe less than 15 to 20% of the interiors have been completed, which is fine because we wouldn't be able to check out everything in one video anyways, because it would be way too long of an episode. So for now, we'll just have to settle for the small portion of castle I was able to complete, and we'll just have to save the rest for a future update video, because I do want to give you guys a full scope of how the interiors will turn out. And so I do apologize to any of you who were expecting a full castle tour, but just bear with me and I will do my best to make things interesting. So once we open the doors to the main entrance, we step into this area of the castle. And I like to think of this area as the public lobby or waiting room of sorts, whereas the lord of the castle's servant would allow the visitor to step into this area and wait while they go and notify the lord of the castle of the presence of the visitor. Whereas then, depending on whom the visitor may be, the lord can then decide to grant an audience with that person or have his servants turn them away. And so as you can see here, we have this little sitting area where we have a game of chess out on the table, again where our visitors can come and pass the time by playing a game of chess while they wait for the lord to receive them. But of course, obviously, this will only be the case if the visitor was someone of means and high rank and not just a commoner. They would be allowed to hang out here with, their companion. Otherwise, a commoner or peasant would, generally have to wait at the door until the lord is ready to see them. And here we have what I like to think of as a very nice stairway that leads up to the second level of the castle. But unfortunately, we won't be exploring that floor today because I haven't gotten around to doing any interiors up there yet. So we're going to go ahead and move on. But again, we will save that for a future episode. So just make sure you guys join back with me if you want to see that progress. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to open this door here that leads into the castle's throne room. So the first thing we have this nice big runner that leads all the way up to our throne here, whereas the throne itself is complemented with this canopy overhead, giving the throne a real sense of majesty, I feel. Also for the throne here, we have this nice big massive seat, because we know the throne is a symbol of majesty and authority. So with a throne like this, I would imagine anyone coming to see the Lord while he's seated upon his throne would feel undoubtedly humbled and inferior to him or her, which in fact is the case. If you guys recall from the lore, Linda currently holds charge over the castle in her brother's stay. So if we take a look above the throne and the canopy, we can see the Linda's family's heraldic colors at the top with the black and yellow banners, but also the heraldic banners of their vassals that would pay tribute to them. So in future episodes, when we will build other castles, each one of those castles will use one of those particular banners up there just to tie them into the world's lore. And also, if we look up, we have our big black and yellow banners that are draping down from the really cool arch ceilings up there. And as you guys can see, I used the plaster with red masonry line block because I thought it gave a nice contrast. And of course, no throne room is complete without chandeliers to add that light to the room. And here we have braziers that also help with lighting the room, but more importantly, help to heat this area up a little better. And around the room, we just have some of these decorative plants. So as we make our way over here, we come to this nice big fireplace that is responsible for providing the majority of the heat for the throne room here. Very important to keep this room nice and toasty, because not only would the Lord spend quite a bit of time here, but also so would his guests when the Lord would hold court or have an audience when making rulings on laws and or judicial decisions. So this room would have quite a lot of people, and so the Lord would want his guests to be comfy, and he wouldn't want them to freeze because that would reflect badly on him. And here, just to show you guys, we do have a door located right behind the throne. We will get to that, but not quite yet. First, we're going to check out some other parts of this castle. And let's go ahead and head over and open this door here. And now we come into the castle's banquet, or feasting, or great hall, whatever you prefer to call it. Just check this out. I really love how this room turned out. Definitely, as of now, my favorite room on the tour. You see, the thing with this castle is, looking at it from the outside, it seems quite large, when in fact, most of the interior spaces inside are quite small. So this can be a problem when trying to design a room that needs to feel large and still not neglect on the details. As a conquest builder, we usually tend to add different color for the interior walls, making them double thick. So when working on a room from the start that isn't too big to begin with, adding in that extra layer of wall can really just shrink and hurt your possible available decorative space, sometimes resulting in not being able to take advantage of the design you may have had planned or the room's fullest potential. So I just thought I'd mention that because that was the case of this, but I was able to really work with what I had and make the best of what it was and turn it into something that I'm very proud of. And it still does feel very much spacious in here, and I feel I was still able to execute my vision for this room. All throughout the room, we have this beautifully painted stonework. We also have these images here on the wall, and now these are not hung up on the wall type of paintings. These are actually supposed to represent wall paintings that a medieval castle would have had, that would have depicted famous battles or poetry or something from the scriptures that they would have had painted directly onto the walls. And so that was the idea that I had for that. That's what I was going for. Again, the overall effect of this room, I think for the space that I had, really works. It still feels open, it feels grand, really posh, warm and festive with our color scheme here. We have all kinds of food set out throughout the room and on the table for our guests. And of course, under the canopy here, at the high table, our Lord, or again in this case, Linda Lindis, would sit with a couple of her most trusted friends. And from here, they would no doubt be enjoying the food, the festivities, and the lively association. Again, I really love how this room turned out. It really did exceed my expectations. And so from here, we're gonna go ahead and move on into the next room. So now, once we open the door here, we come into what I refer to as the first solar of the castle. So this area would serve as a personal and private room area for the Lord. So it would be obviously off limits to the public. And so his family and their guests could come here and relax. And having a nice place like this to come to and relax in after a long day of ruling and governing would have been very important to the Lord. And of course, we have this nice big fireplace here heating the room, and here we have this nice sitting area where the Lord's family and guests can relax by the fire and perhaps play some chess. Plenty of nice comfy places to sit in here. And we have a few tables, as you may have noticed, throughout the room here where servants can come in and drop off food and drinks for the Lord and his guests to enjoy. Maybe we have some wine sitting out on this table here. And as you can see here, we have some cheese and bread and apples. And over here in this corner of the room, we have this nice little desk here for some writing, as well as bookshelves to keep books for reading, because in medieval times, if one could read, it would have been an enjoyable pastime to indulge in. And so the Lord here would definitely want to keep books here in this room for not just for their own use, but also for the use of their guests. And so moving on to some more of the more subtle details in the room, if we look up on the walls, we have our white-tailed deer head mounted on the wall here as decor. And then over here, we have a nice elk head mount. And I do think of this one as an elk because it has a thick black mane as well as thicker antlers, as you guys can see. And of course, we have nice chandeliers hanging from the ceilings, as well as this nicely painted pillar column that helps support the ceiling in this room. I really am loving the vibes of this room. I think it really works with the cohesiveness I have already established with this castle. I really have to say I'm really enjoying the decorating and putting these rooms together and using the decorations to tell a story as I go. So it's really fun. But we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you guys this area. So here, as you can recall, is that room that leads out to the throne room. And now I like to think that, again, after a long day, seated upon the throne, the Lord, or again, Linda Lindis in this case, when she's had enough of dealing with people and their problems, could just get up and retreat to the solar back here and shut the door and lock it and just come back here and take a load off and sit by our fire and just decompress. So from that, we are going to go ahead and make our way up these stairs here. We won't go down quite yet, but we're gonna go up first. So let's go ahead and make our way up these stairs. So this is just a balcony that leads out into the solar, where we have some more places to sit and relax, as well as these nice lilac plants. And you guys would notice this plant a lot throughout the build. I used them quite a bit to add a more feminine touch to the castle, since the castle is currently in Linda's charge. But I have also written into the lore why Linda chooses to use the lilac flower. Because as a baby, when herself and Tilson would cry, their mother would put lilac flowers in their cribs to calm them. And also her mother would often wear perfumes made from lilac petals. And so lilac flower brings back good memories for her, and so she likes to keep them around the castle. So we are now gonna make our way up the stairs again. We're gonna come back to this room, but for now we're gonna keep making our way up the stairs to here. So on the level here, we have our first garderobe on the tour, and here's where the Lord's guests would come to relieve themselves and do their business, as well as the more higher ranking servants. So now, I would like to think in most cases, the Lindis family, or Linda, would not use this garderobe here. She would use their own personal facilities and all that good stuff. But we're gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna show you guys up here. Actually, there's really nothing up here to show you guys. I haven't gotten around to doing anything, as you guys can see, but eventually that would lead up to some more private chambers. So we're gonna go ahead and make our way down the stairway now, and we're gonna go ahead and enter into this door here. And now we've come into the Lord's personal and private dining hall. And again, I really love how this place turned out, and also I think it really shows just how wealthy and posh this family is. And again, let's just take a second to just, look at this and just take it all in. The colors, I really went for a really warm color scheme. It's very festive and inviting, and I think everything in this room, man, it just works just so well together. And again, as you guys can see, we have Linda's lilac flower there. And also in the center of the room here, we have this nice big fancy dining table that would seat not only the Lindis family, but a few of their most esteemed guests. So this would be the room the Lord's family would receive most of their meals, as well as where they would invite guests to come and join them for an intimate meal together, because obviously they wouldn't receive their common meals in the feasting hall. That would be reserved for only with large gatherings and celebrations, whereas this room would be reserved for common meals and intimate gatherings amongst family and a small group of friends. And so again, this would just be the room where the family would receive their daily supper in. So not too many guests would see this room. In fact, it would be considered a privilege to be led up this far into the castle. And as you see, we have this nice, beautiful fireplace right there that will heat the room, as well as this beautiful chandeliering work that's hanging or draping from the ceiling, as well as those beams up there. And now when designing that, I really took some inspiration from a few pictures. I really wanted to use a color that would work well with the walls I have going there, so I used the acacia wood and another kind of beam, and all in all, I think it came together real well. It looks really good, and I am very, very happy with the results. And I know I keep saying that, but it's true. I am very happy with how this is all turning out. And up there we have another mounted deer head on the wall. And then over here we have what I I tried to create as a bear, I guess. Yeah. But then over here we have a stairway that will lead up into another part of the castle, but I haven't worked on that yet. And over here will also lead into another part of the castle, but again, I have not got around to that part, so you'll have to join back with me later if you want to see how that turned out. And now from here, we are going to go ahead and finally head down the stairs here. So where we're heading, there is another way other than this one to get to where we're trying to go. And you would do that by entering from a point outside the castle. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And now, as we open the door here, we go ahead and close that. And now we step right on into the pantry or cellar section of the castle. And now this place down here is huge, as you can see. In fact, when I usually build a castle and give them a cellar, most of those builds could easily fit in this room twice over. And this is just one section of our cellars area. When designing this, I really was trying to go for something a bit different from what I would usually build, and at the same time, just give a nice broader scope of just how much food stores Grwenhilde Castle would keep. And so some of the resources that are kept in this section of the cellars, we have these shelves here where we have plenty of food and grain and eggs and vegetables. Pretty much anything and everything that would be needed by the kitchen is kept here on the shelves in this area of the cellars. So the chef of the castle or his apprentices, when they would begin to prepare the meals for the day, can come here and retrieve anything they would need to cook those meals. We do have smoked sausages and meat hanging, doing our best to keep mostly everything off the ground and away from mice and rats. We wouldn't want any critters getting into our food stores. But for any of you who are wondering, where do we keep the beer and ale and mead? Let's go ahead and head up these stairs here. So now we step into the next part of the cellars, and now this is where the castle's beer, mead, and ale and wine is stored, as it also does serve a dual purpose as well. It doubles as a place for lower servants to rest and have their meals. Here we have a table here, so when the servants have a moment, they will sit here to eat their meals. And again, I did mention there is another way to access these cellars, and that would be from this entrance here. As you can see, it lets out right in front of the castle area. And so for a servant, this is how you would generally access the cellars. So I just want to show you guys that. So moving on, this place, by the way, is full of little subtle details. We have this cabinetry here with some miscellaneous items stored in it. We have some more ale or beer, whatever that may be. I really love how this turned out. I really think it does feel like an underground cellar of a castle with its vaulted and arched ceilings and exposed brick. It really does bring the vibes. But if we go ahead and head up this area here and we come into what is generally the bulk of our castle's resources and supplies. So again, for the first area of the pantry we came into first, when that room starts to run low on resources, it would be another servant's job to come back here and grab whatever's needed to restock that first room for the chef and his crew. And so it would be very important for those servants to take their task seriously because they would not want to upset the chef. And again, we just have some more areas where we can store some more wine and beer. I would like to think that this castle cellar has enough food stores to graciously supply the entire castle keep for easily over a year. So any enemies who think they can siege and try and starve this castle out will have another thing coming. But of course, in case the stores here would begin to come depleted, then the Lord could easily pull from the county's granaries to restock the castle here. And so I think that is it when it comes to this room. Nothing else to see. So I think we're gonna go ahead and make our way out this room here. So we're gonna go ahead and head down. And we're gonna go ahead and make our way over to this hall here. And we're gonna go ahead and check. Well, actually, you know what? We're not gonna do that. We're gonna come back to this later. Actually, we're gonna go ahead and check out the kitchen area first. So let's go ahead and make our way there, and we'll come back and check out those rooms in that area of the castle. So let's go ahead and open this door here. And now we step into the kitchen area, the place where all the castle's meals are prepared. Again, I know I've been saying this quite a lot throughout this tour, but it's true. I really love how this room turned out. It just feels so well. I really love the vibe in here, and it's just how I would imagine a medieval castle kitchen would look, obviously. But I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a tour around this place and try to explain to you guys kind of what's going on in the kitchen here. So over here we have this nice big stove area where the actual food is heated and cooked, and as you can see, there's pots here heating and simmering and boiling over the fire. Stuff like soups and stews and maybe some pottage. You know, everything is here. It's simmering and cooking over this fire. And with all the smoke here that's bellowing up, it's helping to smoke those sausages that we have hanging here. Because who doesn't love a nice smoked sausage? So here we have this nice big table in the center of the room where the prepared and finished food is ready and set out for the other servants to come along and bring it up to the Lord and his guests for their meals later. And over here we have this little table with a cookbook where a chef can maybe read over and check his recipes. And over here we have some more shelves where we have some more things and ingredients stored that will be used in preparing the meals throughout the day. We have a little broom here also to keep the floors moderately clean, because I could imagine the floors would get pretty messy with all the things that probably would be spilt and knocked over. And over here we have our baker's oven, and I just love the design, the simplicity, and it just makes sense, I think. So here we have this furnace area where the wood would go and it would heat everything up. And over here at the top we have our actual oven where our dough would be placed, and then these shutters would be closed, and then our bread would bake. And then the baker could grab his peel here and then pop that hot fresh loaf right out of the oven and place it over here so it can cool off. And now for some more subtle details, we have some kitchen utensils that are hanging along the wall, as well as some pottery on floating shelves here. It just feels like a kitchen in here. It really does. Like, everything that you would need to prepare a meal can be found in here. And again, hanging from the chandelier, we have some spices and herbs, along with some meat and rabbit. And over in the area right over here, we have where our chef would keep his recipe books and his master's memoirs, and he would just be able to pull from that whenever he would need to research a recipe, as well as we have some more kitchen utensils and pottery. And if we come up these stairs here, and now this little area here would be, say, if the Lord wanted a particular meal or meals prepared for the day, the Lord would then write down exactly what they would want served. So then the Lord would pass that note off to another servant, which then the servant would take the note down here to the kitchens and pin it to the wall or bulletin board for the chef to see. So then when the chef is getting ready to prepare the meal for the day, he could refer to this bulletin and know exactly what he'll need to pull from the pantry to make those meals. So I think that's about it as far as the kitchen goes. So I think we can go ahead and move on. So let's go ahead and head out this door here. And now we're back in this area once again. And if we open the door right here, so we come into what might possibly be the chef's and his apprentices' bed chambers, which makes sense because those working in the kitchen would have a higher or slightly higher status than some of the other servants. And as you can see, that they have actual beds that are off the ground, and they are not sleeping on hay or riffraff on the floor, because again, they are of slightly higher status, so they would naturally have a bit better accommodations. And now over in the corner over here, we have this nice heating system going on here that's keeping this room nice and toasty. And I really love this design. It's a really neat way of saving space when you don't really want to build a fireplace or anything like that. And it makes sense. This is what a lot of medieval homes would have had, as far as I know, as an alternative to not having a fireplace. If they couldn't have a fireplace, then they would likely opt for something like this. And over here, we have some cabinetry where clothing and other miscellaneous items can be kept and stored. And also we have a little chest here in the corner. And then over here we have this little table with a card game for some recreation. And some more of the little details, we have this big support beam that runs down the center of the ceiling, as well as these smaller ones that run opposite. That helps to give the roof some support. It just all kind of helps to pull that whole rustic stone and wood look all together. Really cool room. Really liked how it turned out. And now we come into the laundry room area. And now again, this is where all the castle's laundry would be done. So right here we have this furnace that would naturally be used to heat up the water in the cauldron up here. And so then a servant would bring the dirty laundry up this way, then dump it into the cauldron here of boiling liquid, and then just kind of stir it and whoosh it around until that laundry is deemed clean. And something to note that is kind of gross as far as medieval laundry cleaning methods go. As some of you guys may know, the medieval people would have used urine as an active cleaning agent. And so that's why I have these jars here, because they would contain that urine. And so after the laundry would come out of the cauldron, they would be hung up here to dry. And over here on the folding table, we have some freshly dried and folded textiles, as well as this cabinetry here where we can store any laundry that's not in use, as well as some other supplies and things around. And of course we have some stacks of wood to keep our furnace going. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the laundry room. So we are gonna go ahead and move on with this tour. Here we have a couple more of those jars where presumably filled with urine. But we're gonna go ahead and make our way to the back here where we come to find the servant's garderobe. And in most cases, I usually would just add a bucket and that would serve as a toilet for the servants. But I just went ahead and spoiled them and gave them an actual decent toilet to use, so they can sit here like lords and do their business, and it would drop down into the lake below, out of sight, out of mind. And this area right over here would be used by our servants to wash their hands after maybe going to the garderobe, and also they could even clean their faces and maybe even take a quick little bird bath in this area. And now we come to what appears to be just another ordinary wardrobe, maybe a place where more supplies or laundry or miscellaneous items can be stored, but in actuality, it's anything but ordinary. You see, if you guys recall, I mentioned in the lore that Lord Tilson and his sister, Lady Linda, on the night of their father's assassination, that some treacherous vassals wanted to not only murder Thanis, their father, but them as well. But the attempt did not fully prevail due to the noble efforts and involvement of a chivalrous knight who once served him as a retainer. When this chivalrous knight got wind of the coup, he himself and his eldest son mounted up, as well as a few of their own personal retainers, and rode as fast as they could to Grwenhilde Castle to warn Thanis. But sadly, arriving a bit too late, Thanis was already dead, and so then their next effort was to get to the Lord's children and secure their safety. The knight and his son and retainers fought valiantly through hallways and corridors until they reached the bedchambers of both Tilson and Linda, where the traitors were closing in. Being one of the very few most trusted friends of Thanis, he knew of a secret sally port that could aid in their escape, leading them out the castle safely. And so here is that secret entrance into that sally port here. And so now I know from here it doesn't look too incognito, but I did my best, the best I could, so you guys will just have to humor me. Stepping through the back of that wardrobe, we come to this area which will lead us down through the sally port. But from here, it's still no cakewalk. When designing this undercroft, I didn't want it to become a possible weak point in this castle design. Being that only a few people know of it, it doesn't mean that others couldn't find out about it or possibly even stumble upon it. So what I did was I added in traps in the form of false floors that drop down to a staked floor oubliette. And so I feel that this properly rectifies that problem. Anyone that's not supposed to be down here or want to try and sneak into the castle by the means of this sally port will more than likely trigger one of these false floors and fall down and meet their fate at the bottom of an oubliette on a stake. And so that's that. I thought that was a cool little idea, and apparently false floors was actually a thing in medieval times. And also you can see how dark it is down here. There are no torches around. In fact, coming down here, you would definitely want to bring your own light because you wouldn't want to accidentally misjudge your steps and fall victim to those traps, and also possibly even get lost because there are multiple directions you can go down here. As you can see, it's very hard to see where you're going down here. I just fell down another false floor, so you can see how effective this place would be. So now I want to go ahead and show you guys the bottom of the oubliette. But first, let me go ahead and grab a torch real quick so we can actually, there we go, so we actually see where we're going. So I'm taking you to the place where the poor unsuspecting souls will fall to if they are unfortunate enough to fall victim to the traps. And so opening the door here, we come into the bottom of the oubliette. And man, I tell you, you wouldn't want to be here. As you can see, it's not a nice drop, and more than likely, you wouldn't survive the fall. And even if you did survive the fall, you would still experience a very agonizing death down here in the dark. And so there is a door down here, so the bodies that would fall victim could be removed by, someone who would obviously know about this place, because there would be a few guards that would know about it, and they would be responsible for coming and retrieving those bodies and removing them so this doesn't stink too bad. But again, judging by the cobwebs down there, I would say that this place probably doesn't see much action anyways. It has done well to remain very secret, but again, if it was to be found out, then there are those traps in place. And now, we go ahead and open that door, and we step out and find ourselves outside the castle. And now, this is how Tilson and Linda, along with those knights, were able to escape. So they would have made their way down these stairs right here, all the way down these rickety kind of stairs, and then they would have had this boat, and they would have, the knights would have probably brought it over here, and then, Tilson and Linda would have climbed in and, rowed out to safety. And so I think this whole little section of the tour had some really cool details. And so with that, you guys, that will end our tour, I think, for today. I have nothing else to show you guys. Again, like I mentioned, we will be doing some tours of the other rooms of the castle as I create them and get them going. So you guys just have to come on back if you guys would like to see that in a future episode of our castle building series. So you guys, that was the first part of the interior tour for Grwenhilde Castle. I hope you enjoyed it and got to learn a little more lore on the family. I know I had fun putting this all together, and I really enjoy the storytelling aspects of the build. So please join back with me for when I do future update videos on the castle here, so you don't want to miss those remaining tours, because it's my goal to have the whole castle interiors done in another 2 to 3 episodes, and I have some really cool ideas planned for it. And while we're on updates, I think the next episode will involve some progress within the city walls, where we'll begin to build some places. And you don't want to miss that either. Also, side note, but I have finally come up with a name for the city that I am happy with. So again, you guys stick around. There's quite a lot to look forward to here, and I can say I'm really excited. As always, if you enjoy this video, leave a like, maybe a sub, and leave a comment to show your support. And until next time, this is the Kinder Knight, and I bid you a farewell.